So for those of you guys, thank you so much for watching, listening. Actually, mostly gals watching and listening. Thank you. Like, subscribe, comment, share. I've got Alexandria. I've got Anna. They're from One Oak Research, right?
Yep.
Yes, I got that right. One Oak, and it's one of a kind research.
Yeah,
That's what it stands for. So both of their LinkedIn's underneath. We actually did a podcast uh, regarding their careers and startup site. This one's different. This one's a little more directed to people trying to get into the industry and wanting to work at smaller sites. So as someone who just hired my second employee and probably won't hire anyone else for a while, maybe at the end of the year if we really get busy, um, I actually struggled the first couple of months finding people, and I wanted to talk to another startup site about their experiences and what kind of person would you look for when you are ready. I don't know if you guys are ready to hire now or not, but what do you want to see in this person? So thank you guys for coming on.
Yeah,
thanks for having us. Thanks.
To start off, when it comes to a startup site and looking to bring somebody on, we only really wanted to hire one person as far as our employee, just because there's so much unknown in getting started. So our second employee was outsourced. Someone to help with our budgets and our contracts. And then potentially our next one might be outsourced as well. So until that constant revenue comes in, are we going to actually look to bring somebody on as one of One Oak's employees?
I see. So your contract and budget, I'm assuming the next one would be like a regulatory person.
No, actually, that's the person that we hired to be our first employee, is somebody that specializes in regulatory. Because, regulatory is a full-time job. And it really bogs us down from looking for like the next study, looking for the next patients. So I think our next contracted person, I know we really haven't talked about this so much, but it might be a coordinator.
Yeah, there are a few companies that we ran into during the ACRP conference who do contracted coordinators, kind of like how travel nurses are. Well, they will pay for that person to get relocated. They pay all of the health insurance, 401ks and stuff, and we just pay a fee to have them for a designated amount of time. And then after that contract's up and we fulfilled it, we can offer that person a full-time position. We can offer them just a renewal of another contract for another study or for another time period, or we can just let them go. That way, if we do have all of a sudden a big influx of studies, we can hire on and not have to worry about, well, what are we going to tell this person that we committed to 6 months down the road when we don't have work for them?
I see. That makes sense. I'm not going about it that way, but that is one option. I've actually never gone that way, but okay, maybe because you guys, I remember now from our first podcast, you talked about this training company. We're not going to mention them because they're a competitor of mine, but they're a training company that sent you interns, and you were not very happy with them.
No.
What? So maybe this is a better type of podcast. What to not do when you are looking to intern at a site, like to turn off the employer? Like what did they do that made you guys say, yeah, this is not going to work?
My first issue was the dishonesty. So we had one gal who came in saying that from wherever she came before, she knew how to draw blood, process blood, she knew how to take vitals, everything. So she was really here just to learn about the coordinating stuff. She didn't know that meant that, coordinators actually physically see patients. So I took her around to the first patient, and I asked her to be my second tube person because there was so many tubes to draw that she would just hand me the tubes. She goes to hand me the tube and she pops the top off and hands it to me. like I'm going to collect drip samples or something.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's like, well, if I knew you didn't have any experience, I would have given you more training on like how to hand me a tube.
So that's like a kind of thing that, like, if you're a MA, CNA, and you're somebody who knows how to draw blood, I mean, that's one of the benefits of hiring like a
Yes.
CNA or an MA is they know how to do that. So you're
You don't have
saying
to
this
give them that
person,
foundational education. They should have came with it.
wow, okay.
Mhm.
Because
So
I
I
was
do have to
thinking more
say,
along the lines of like, they didn't understand like basic principles of research, but it's even beyond that. It's like even
Yeah.
a step below that.
yeah, I think it goes both ways. So I came into research without a MA background, but I had a research background. So I think, and Anna, you may disagree, but as long as you have one of the two foundations,
Mhm.
that way you at least come in knowing something to base off of, whether that's, research and we can teach you medical stuff, or, the medical stuff and we can teach you research, just because it is a lot to try to tackle it from both sides versus if you kind of have a foundation in one and we can do the other. And then beyond that, just be honest about what you don't know. There's a big push in a lot of interviews to hype yourself up. And then after you get the job offer, say, well, actually, I do need to learn how to do X, Y, and Z. But we would prefer as a small site, especially, you just be honest with us. We're happy to teach you. There's things that we're still learning. But if you lie, that's going to just create a foundation of distrust. And with having us being so small, that's really important.
With
Liars.
this other site, with this other company that we got the interns from, it seemed like this company just took on anybody and then were given the information and kind of hoped for the best.
Mm-hmm.
Because the caliber of person that we got, we took on like 4, maybe 5 interns. The caliber of person was different. Their basic understanding of their knowledge of research was different from one person. There was no consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that definitely wasn't taught was etiquette with doctors. So we had one intern that I told him, like, that's a principal investigator. We'll meet him later. She took it upon herself to just walk in the patient's room and introduce herself to the PI while he was seeing patients. And he was so kind. He was like, okay, maybe later. I'll talk to you soon. Gently let her go. But you could see on his inside, he was like, what are you doing?
Wow.
So that's one of those foundational skills that should be a simple 5-minute conversation that this other company should have had with their
Was this person a foreign doctor, an international medical graduate?
Oh goodness. I don't know. I don't remember. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely what not to do. I mean, lie about your capabilities of, doing clinical things. Now, okay, so let's go to what they should do. So I know you guys are going the route of possibly outsourcing the hiring of your next coordinator. What if you had somebody just contact you guys and say, hey, you know what? I'm located in Phoenix, Alexandria, and I watched this crazy guy on YouTube, and he told me that you guys need help getting studies or having a social media presence. So I'm willing to do, XYZ, and I'll volunteer. And if you guys like me, hire me like in 3 months. And if not, I'll go somewhere else. And don't just tell me the answer you think I want to hear. Tell me like what you would actually do in this case.
So
go ahead.
I don't know if what we would do might be a little bit
different.
different.
I'm excited.
I think that if that person is taking the initiative to reach out, that already shows a lot right there. It's so easy when there's a job post on LinkedIn to just press it. And I'm not going to lie, I'm that type of person. When I was looking for a job, it was just apply.
Spray
but the fact that they put in that effort to me means something. Either they're crazy, or no one else wants them, they're really desperate, or it means that they felt a calling or they felt a need to really come and apply for this position and they feel strong in their abilities and they feel strongly about wanting to work in this field. And I think that that's really important, because no matter what job you have, eventually you're going to have boring days. You're going to have paperwork days and training days and days that you just don't want to be there, because that's life. But if you have some sort of drive, whether that's I just want to accomplish things, or I just really want to be a part of this field, it's going to make working so much more pleasant. And that's the type of person that I want to work around, is someone who has that drive and initiative and desire to do this.
Mm-hmm. And that's how I got my last research job. Is RPI wasn't hiring, and I emailed him and his office manager and just said, well, I'm available. Yeah. So when or if you're looking, and then interviewed and took it on. So
because you can teach skills, you can teach blood draws, you can teach vitals, you can teach source, you can teach everything. You can't teach the desire to want to work and to work here. And you can't teach a personality or someone who has just that initiative. That's comes pre-ingrained.
Yeah.
And here's thank you for saying that. I mean, that's kind of what I think most sites would do. Obviously, it's all one-on-one based. Like, just because you have that strategy, it's not guaranteed it's going to work at your first site you apply. But if you go to like 10 or 20 sites, one of them is going to give you a shot. And here's the crazy thing about that. The way the industry is right now, you're not going to be volunteering for 3 months. I mean, if they like you, they'll make you an offer like within your first month. That's just the way it is, especially at a smaller sites like you guys. You know, this may not work at a big academic medical center, like Mayo Clinic. It's not going to work there. But like small sites like Yuma Clinic with Trails, One Oak, you know, it can work. So I'm glad you basically confirmed what I've been telling people to do, and they still don't do it.
It's scary. It's scary to call people up. You know, there's the fear of rejection and all of that. But the worst thing that a site can tell you is no. And then you're back in the same spot that you were at before you called them. It's not like they're going to say no and all of a sudden your life's going to fall apart. Everything just stays the same. You just
move on to the next one.
Wasted an email.
Yeah. It's the biggest thing. I've been trying to grow my TikTok lately. The biggest question I've been getting on TikTok, and I'm so glad because it's people that they don't know me from YouTube. So it's like a brand new audience. The biggest thing they say is, hey, you know, I don't see any postings that I qualify for. And I reply basically the same answer to all of them. I say, the job you're more likely to get is not posted anywhere. It's somebody like Anna and Alexandria sitting in an office. By the way, they're on LinkedIn, you know, and their inbox is open. And this is how you approach. Like, when someone posts a job, they're posting with criteria. Like, usually they're paying for that post, so they want to get ROI from that post. So they're posting like, must have some experience, you know.
Right. Yeah. We're trying to filter it out, especially if you're paying per person who applies. You have to put pretty strict filters, because otherwise you're paying thousands of dollars for a bunch of people who don't have anything and don't even want the job, that they're just applying for everything because they don't know what research is. And it's a lot of waste of money and time. And I would say, don't be afraid to apply for something that you might not be fully qualified for, because you never know where they can bend those requirements.
Right.
They're not always as required as they sound.
2 things come to mind. One, about 2 or 3 years ago, we had a gal that was in a regulatory master's program. And for one of her courses, she had to do so many hours at a research site as just volunteer work. So we took her for about 5 hours a week for 6 months, that we were going to teach her our side of what regulatory was like. After that 6 months, she asked if she could stick around for maybe 20 hours a week, and we actually pay her at a fee for an intern. And we did. And 2 years later, she still stuck around and was able to do a lot of regulatory catch up and backup work for us for a long time before she finally finished with her master's and then went on and get some amazing job someplace else. So that is one intern that actually, somebody that called us out. Actually, her mom called us. Her mom called us asking if we'd be interested in talking with her. Yeah. And then another one, the gal that we hired for regulatory now at One Oak, we weren't really hiring for the regulatory position. We were hiring for a research assistant, somebody to help us get through the patient visits and the filing and everything. And then she came in with her experience in research, somewhat in regulatory, and thought, well, let's just evolve our what we have to offer here to what fits for her.
Yeah.
Right. So she's not helping us with patient visits. She's primarily focused on just regulatory, and we were able to make that work.
Yeah, that's the small research or small companies in general benefit is that things are moldable. You get a really big company there's a lot of bureaucracy. There's not a lot of bending of those roles. You have to fit in that little peg perfectly. And whereas when it's a smaller site, you can kind of help guide what are you good at and how can we evolve that into being the most efficient role possible. And so there's a lot more flexibility for small sites. It is a risk for people to take a job on a newer company and a smaller site. You're not going to have all the big fancy things that you're going to get at a Mayo Clinic, but there are benefits to it too, as far as that flexibility goes. And, depending on where your priorities are in your career, that's just another thing to consider.
And you can be a generalist a lot quicker at these smaller sites than you can at the bigger sites.
You can learn a little bit of everything, and then when you find your niche, you can stick to it and drive in.
Well, thank you guys. I think this is going to be a good piece of content for anybody looking to get in, and we're definitely going to do part 2, part 3 on how sites can collaborate and different things like that. So thank you, Anna and Alexandra. I really appreciate it. And
Thank you.
see you guys
Thank you.
again.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.